Hi, I wanted to ask you a question. I just wanted to get your opinion on this because your channel raises quite a lot of good points and you like discussing issues when they come across week to week. And I wanted to discuss the ending of Flesh and Stone, which I'm sure is the source of a lot of controversy this week, with people either championing Amy's actions or decrying them as being utterly vile and unethical. And for my part, I really liked the ending. I liked that it showed that the Doctor, is being taken into uncharted territory with this companion. I like that it showed that the show can be surprising still after so many decades, and I like the performance of the two leads. That said, my conundrum is, after attempting to cheat on her clearly very faithful fiancé, Rory, and you would be faithful, wouldn't you? Do I still like Amy Pond? It's an odd question to ask, because it's not an anti-feminism thing. It isn't a complaint about her being independent or sexualized. I just don't know if I actually would like her if I knew her. Like, if I knew Amy Pond, if she was in my group of friends, would I understand what she did? And I just don't know what my opinion of her is now. And that's probably exactly what Moffat had intended. I mean, the audience's opinions are no longer black and white, and it's made her potentially one of the most divisive characters in the show's history, which is quite something. And I don't know, after some careful consideration, I just wanted to share a couple of my thoughts and try and balance my opinion a little bit, because even though I'm feeling a slight amount of distance towards Amy as a character, her antics actually start to make me think about what kind of messages all of the companions have given to young viewers in the past, and whether they've all been a good thing. When you think about it, okay, she's being unfaithful, and without even having a romantic desire for a future with the Doctor, for that matter. So far, so bad, right? And I've known people who have been cheated on, and it's something I would never choose to do or want to have done to me. I'm not sure anyone would. But when you think about it, is that worse than Rose becoming utterly infatuated with the Doctor when she knew there was no hope of a reciprocation? I mean, Rose preached to audiences that it was okay for her to fall in love with someone that she couldn't have a physical relationship with, and cut everyone else out of her life. It's the same sort of chaste, slightly naive message that's preached by the Twilight novels. I mean, it sells this idea of love to 13-year-old girls as being a sexless, hypocritical sort of fantasy. And furthermore, I mean, Martha, who I really like Martha a lot. She did pine for the Doctor, but then she moved on with her life. And unlike Martha, Rose moved in with him and acted like she was his wife. She fixed everybody with stink eye whenever they questioned their never-ending love, and she generally acted as if they owned one another. She was the one who perhaps overstepped her boundaries as a companion. And also similar to the Twilight books, Rose continues to be deluded that she and the Doctor were meant to be together. She's utterly dependent on him in a way that most independent modern women would probably shudder at. She even stalks him through dimensions by the end, and then she settles for a sort of creepy clone version of him who had just committed genocide, no less, just because he looks like him, and because they could have that physical relationship that she lacked with the real Doctor. And if that wasn't bad enough, I mean, he was half Catherine Tate. What message that sends to young viewers of the show, I can't really imagine. Sure, Amy is betraying Rory, but is that worse than the damage that Rose did to Mickey? Completely emasculating him and rubbing her relationship with the Doctor in his face? I mean, Amy may have stabbed Rory in the back, but Rose stabbed Mickey in the front. And then she pouted at him and acted like she had done nothing wrong. I mean, ultimately, Amy's outlook on the Doctor is in many ways more healthy. It's a casual attraction to an alpha male by an alpha female. And he just saved her life, of course. Falling in lust with someone unfaithfully is one thing, but falling in love with somebody unfaithfully, that can be so much more damaging. I mean, thinking about Rose, she was a great character, and I really liked the 2005-2006 series, but Rose wasted her life away and burned her emotional bridges in the process. At least Amy got all of her physical attention out of the way early. And there's a lot of other things to consider, such as the Doctor's culpability in the proceedings. That's fascinating. I mean, Amy jumping the Doctor seemed completely out of the blue when it happened to all of us. But what Moffat has created is a sort of psychological minefield that inexorably leads us up to that point. She's throwing herself at him not just because he's the Doctor and because he's sexy. She's throwing herself at him because he fell out of the sky when she was 7 years old and royally screwed her up for life, long before she wore police uniforms to parties and things. I mean, you could say that her entire emotional outlook on life stems from her imaginary friend, who not only spoiled her for any other man with his heroics, but also implanted in her a fear of abandonment and disconnection between sex and love. I mean, Rose never had that. She was just bored with her council estate life and wanted something different. Martha was a strong career woman, finally getting a crush and then moving on. I mean, Amy is an exercise in Freudian mind-bending. She's been created by him by accident, and he's only now just realizing the long-term effects of that he's had on her personality. So it's darker, more adult stuff. I mean, it's not entirely appropriate for younger viewers, perhaps, but at least it's not championing another supposedly safe, unrequited attachment to men, like some of the other companions have. Furthermore, on a purely dramatic level, it's an inspired way to dumbfound the Doctor. I mean, here's a man who could riddle out a crack in the universe or defeat an army of angels without breaking a sweat. But here, the problem he has to solve is the only one in the universe he knows nothing about, which is human relationships. I mean, it takes him completely out of his comfort zone and out of his depth and out of his area of expertise. He can't use his sonic screwdriver, he can't rely on a Deus Ex Machina to reverse time, he can't even brush it off with a joke. He has to fix Rory and Amy's relationship now, and he's the worst therapist ever. I mean, what could be more perfect than that as a dilemma for the Doctor? You can already see how it's playing into the next episode, Vampires in Venice. And the Doctor doesn't sit them both down and have a deep, long chat. He sends them off to Venice because that's what he thinks people need to do to fall in love. I mean, he's an alien. He doesn't understand the intricacies of human connection. He's simply trying whatever he can to make it work, attacking it like a problem and not an emotion. I mean, he's had families in the past, and he's clearly not immune to human emotion, but there are still certain elements that he just doesn't understand, and Amy Pond is an enigma. So yeah, I mean, like there are quite a few good points to this plot. You know, I can see it going interesting places. It should make for pretty interesting television. And I hope that it doesn't get brushed under the carpet immediately. I hope that they do take the time to address why Amy did what she did and what makes Amy do things like that. And with any luck, Amy may find her way back into my esteem again. Because, like I said, I want to like her, and I want her character to grow as the series progresses. And I can imagine a lot of women will champion her actions, and a lot of women will just hate her. You know, I'm just pleased that the show's being bold, regardless of my own personal reservations about it, and I hope that that it ends up becoming something that makes her a stronger companion in the end. But those are just some of my thoughts, and do with them what you like. Okay?